This is the original body, 180,000 frames or something on it now. So yeah, I mean, the question was, what's the most important thing for the high-end motorsport? It's for me, it's that AF performance, not necessarily frame rate, because it's 40 frames a second. I never use it. I use maybe maximum 10 frames a second. Yeah. Because, and again, if I'm panning at a corner, I'll track it, obviously with the autofocus, and especially through stuff I'm doing stuff through trees. We can customize it to avoid obstacles and do all the rest of the fancy stuff. So, but I only take 1 or 2 frames when it's in the position I want. I don't. I'm standing next to a guy and I can hear the shutter go off, and the car's not really even in view. It doesn't do your photography any good, because you're not perfecting your art, and you're also going to have to download all that and weed through all the rubbish to get the 2 frames that you should have shot just the 2 frames of in the first place. So, I don't feel with a shooting JPEG. I think I've got 64 gig cards in my cameras. I never go anywhere near filling them.
Wow,
that's
crazy. Yeah,
because some guys shoot, I don't know how many, like some ridiculous, like 5 or 6 or even 10,000 frames in a 3-hour practice session, and you're going, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, you're just going to have to wade through that. Why don't you just wait? And again, I get the old man yelling at clouds.
So, no, but I think it's impressive. You're shooting pro-grade motorsport, and you're delivering JPEG files. Like it's quite inspirational, really. Like that, and obviously you've invested the years. You've trained yourself. You know your gear backwards. You're not upgrading your camera every 6 months. You're still using the OG XH2. And what did you say? 180,000 frames. Like most pro photographers would start to get nervous and move on their digital camera, because technically shutters and sensors only have a certain lifespan. And
I would argue, Greg, most pros don't. Like Jim and I, we used to drive the wheels off the thing. Like people.
Yeah,
it was the other way around, actually. It was we would talk to amateurs, especially when we went to sell gear. And we'd be like, it's got 250,000 clicks on the shutter. And they'd be like, oh, well, I'm not going to buy it because it'll probably explode or whatever. And we're like, dude, our other one's got 500,000, and worst case, you put a new shutter in, it's $800. So I think it might actually be a little bit the other way, where a lot of the pros, they just keep driving them until the wheels fall off sometimes.
True. I guess, and they are a financial investment. So
what's the kit that you take away when you go on one of these assignments? Just sort of the main stuff that's in your bag that you use and what you use it for. Give us a rundown.
Too much is the answer. Too much gear. I have Fujifilm XH2S and a Fujifilm XH2, so just one of each body. A battery grip. These are all, if you can see that, they're all covered in vinyl, like a vinyl wrap, purely because my stupid arm braces rip the Jesus out of the plastic. So I always protect my cameras like that. A range of lenses, a range of zooms, primes. One interesting thing though, I'm guilty of carrying way too much gear. I have the beautiful. Imagine, you've seen my hands, Greg. Imagine how long it took me to put this on. Why did I do it to myself? It was this vinyl wrap that came from.
No, but it looks amazing.
So that's so cool.
They're never going to miss me. So this is my precious 200mm f2. People get hung up on. I need a much bigger lens. I need this. I need that. 200 f2, which is on Fujifilm, is APS-C, so it's 300mm 300 f2, 1.4 converter, which gives me in the old school 400-2.8. Yeah, it's more than enough for every racetrack that I go to, especially if I'm trying to do little car big scene. I often use a 50-140. I take a bunch of primes, which I shouldn't do, because the Fujifilm's the X series zooms are amazing. But I tend to shoot. I've got a 50 f1 for a lot of my nighttime stuff. Got 50-140, a range of wider primes, But what I did, what it was a good exercise, and it will probably be a good exercise for some of the listeners, is that on Lightroom, you can go and do metadata and go, okay, and isolate it by lens. I have a beautiful 8 to 16 mil zoom, Fuji zoom f2.8, absolutely gorgeous, really heavy. I took it away with me to the Le Mans 24-hour a couple of years ago, and I had it with me in my pouch in my photo jacket and carried it around for no apparent reason. Got back and I went, I can't remember how many frames I took with that lens. So I dragged it 20, how many 100,000 kilometers away. I took 2 frames with it.
Oh,
so the next year it stayed at home.
Yeah.
And I took an 18 mil prime. Or I took the 8 mil XF 8 mil, which is a 3.5. It's a tiny little lens. So you can get caught up with carrying too much gear, and it depends too. If I'm going to the pit lane, I'll take a few more primes and a few different lenses to shoot, driver portraits and things like that. I have a beautiful 90 mil f2, which is the equivalent of the old school 135 f2. I had a 135 f2 FD Canon manual focus lens, and I always use that for my portraits. So I carry that with me. But if I'm going out on track, I'll just take the 200, 50-140, and maybe I did use the 90 mil at night in Bahrain last year during a night race, and that was more than capable. So, so my gear, it's 2 bodies, a bunch of random bunch of lenses, but nothing too over the top.